So we're going to, which are also the motor mount bolts, and they're the bolt holds down. Well, you probably don't want to put it on upside down. At the FMTV roundup at Dave Anderson's last August, Dave pointed out that I have oil droplets on my frame. So let's walk around to the other side. Oh, here's a good dose of it right here. Oh, you can really see it right here. But anyhow, I've always had a little seep on my pan gasket. And look at it. It's always been a little damp, but not dripping. Well, now it's dripping. And back when I had a real job, we used to have a whole bunch of these things. And I talked to one of the guys at work, and he said that the pan gasket is very narrow, right up there. And there's a considerable amount of oil coming off the crankshaft gears and the front of the crankshaft. It sprays right on this side. You can see it's on both sides in the front. There's nothing else leaking but the pans. So at the roundup, we were given some of this super clean, and this stuff really works. So we're going to spray it down with some of this stuff. If I get it turned on. And hit it with a garden hose so they don't have to work on dirty stuff. We'll give that a minute to soak in, and we'll wash it off. Excuse me, this stuff's hard on your lungs. And we'll go take a look at the gasket. Long ways off the ground for an old man. And if you look, see these narrow areas? That's where they tend to leak. And if you're looking for the part number, there it is. It's about 44 bucks at your nearest Caterpillar dealer. More as it occurs. Okay. Here's what I've learned now that I have the pan off. And of course the air compressor's got to start right now. So this pan gasket has been replaced before, as evidenced by the marks from the Scotch-Brite and the die grinder. Now what's going on is the oil pump gears spin directly at the pan gasket, and I think they just push oil through there. Now, before I put this pan on, I'll clean this all up, make sure all these bolts are tight. The pan was nice and clean when it was removed. I found nothing in it. The pan is difficult to get off because it fits into these spaces right here, and there's not enough room to drop it down to get it off the oil pump. If you take the lower bolts out, which are also the motor mount bolts, and they're 21 millimeter, there's the one on the other side. To get those out, you can hook your come-along up here to the bumper and pull this back far enough that you don't have to wrestle with the other bolts. That bolt up there doesn't look too bad for access. This one over here wouldn't be a lot of fun at all. It's hiding behind the air compressor. So my recommendation is to just swing it. After getting the pan off and getting it cleaned up, I take a straight edge and go across all the bolt holes, and every one of these was stretched due to over tightening. The way I fix that is take a small hammer like that, whack it with another hammer, and just knock them down a little bit. And I'm no fan of these things. I just don't think they're good to use on an oil pan. I prefer these. I'm definitely over speeding this wire brush. So let me set the camera down a minute. I gotta fight with something else. This is my favorite tool. And once you knock the bolt holes down where they've been stretched, they scrape pretty good. Now, I'm no fan of RTV on this stuff. What I do is go over them, scrape as much off as I can, go over them with a wire brush, use lacquer thinner, and clean it all. And then I like this stuff here. You probably can't read it, but this is 515 Loctite gasket eliminator. I put a thin film of that on both sides of the gasket. And you don't have to be in any rush to get it stuck on there because it dries in the absence of air. So when you bolt it up, it squeezes the air out of it and it seals up. You can see how terribly narrow the gasket is, right where all the nastiness is occurring. I got a darn bug in here. So I'll put a thin film on the top also. It is marked block side. So you probably don't want to put it on upside down.